Hi, my name is Ivy. I am 44 years old. We're going to hear my story on abuse, rape, and serial monogamy. I grew up in a two-parent house. My father was in the military, so I traveled all over the world. Growing up, I felt very safe. My dad, he was everything. I was really close to my father. He just made me feel real safe, and he passed away on the phone with me. I believe that's when I died too. I noticed that I was different in 1985. I did not have a lot of friends in kindergarten. I was very, very smart as a 5-year old. I was way ahead of my class, and my dad told me that I was special. He said, "You won't know it now, but you will when you get older." In the third grade, I had a teacher. He was my English teacher. And one day he said, "I am going to go out of town." And I said, "Do not go out of town because you're going to get in a car accident." And he laughed, and I didn't laugh because I seen it. So over the weekend, we went back to school. That Monday, they announced over the intercom that he had passed away in a car accident. Everybody was screaming and hollering. I sat there because I told him Friday not to go. And then one of the students heard me tell him. They went to the office and said, Ivy said this on Friday. So they kind of thought I had something to do with it. Weirdly, this was in the 80s. I didn't know. My father came to the school. They brought me to the office. My dad kind of played it off. So when we got in the car, my dad told me basically, like, don't do that. Don't talk about your gift because people are going to think you're crazy, stuff like that. So I stopped. I stopped talking about it. When I would see things or hear spirit tell me things, I ignored it. I did my best to be normal and fit in. I ignored it for 20 plus years. But my family is gifted. My sister, my dad, my mom, like my grandmother, it is a gift. And I was so young, I did not know how to channel that. I just ignored it. And I stepped back into it in 2018. At the age of 7, 8, my mom and dad were working long hours at this point. My younger sister is 11 months less than me. So me and my sister, we did everything together. We're like Irish twins. One day, my mom was like, "I got y'all a babysitter. She's older. She was a teenager. Late teens. That's fine." She stayed across the street, maybe 4 houses up from our street. Went over there. Like I said, I was 7, 8. My sister was like 6, 7, something like that. Started out just her babysitting us, popping popcorn, watching movies. Next thing you know, it migrated to the room. I noticed something was off because she would want us to get in the bed with her. I told my sister, I would always put my sister on my side. She started touching on me first. She tried to touch my sister, but I took all that. I just didn't want her touching my sister. So it started with the touching. She started making me suck on her, like playing with her, stuff like that. This went on for 5 years. She always said, don't tell your mom or dad. They're not going to believe you. They love me. I never told nobody. I hated going over there. I used to always just tell my mom, like, I don't want to go over to the babysitter's house. And she would ask why, and I would just tell her, because we don't like going over there. I was my sister's protector since I'm older. My sister, she never said anything, but that lasted until she graduated. The babysitter graduated and went to college. And then we started staying at home by ourselves. So that lasted for a few years. My sister never knew that I was protecting her in that sense. All she knew was I just so happened to been on this side of the bed and she was on the other side of the bed. It was never in her mindset that you're on that side of the bed because I don't want her touching you. But I knew that it would be a traumatizing experience for my sister. So after the babysitter went to college and went on by her life, we ended up moving from that state. We went for the summer to our family's home, and my father was deployed, so he would go in the military, and for the summer we would go to family's house. I had to have been about 12 or so at this time, and one of my family members, I was his favorite. Every time we would go, he would tell my mom and dad, like, I want Muffin to come with me. And my mom and dad would be like, Muffin, go with this family member. And I was like, okay. Back in the 80s, they had these candy necklaces. I hate them to this day. I don't want to look at them, but they had the candy necklaces and the candy bracelets. This family member would buy them for me all the time because he knew I love candy and cupcakes. So one day we went to his house. He bought me a whole bunch of candy necklaces and candy bracelets. And he made me perform oral on him. He actually grabbed me by my face, grabbed me by my neck, made me do it. At the time, he stayed in a duplex, and next door was a big German Shepherd. I remember one time I got tired of it because this happened consecutively, like years, from 12 to 15, 16. So one day I ran out the screen door, broke through the screen door. The dog tried to come chase me, and I got away. And I actually ran over some railroad tracks and got my foot stuck in a railroad track, and I almost got hit by a train. But I pulled my foot out the railroad track, and luckily the train missed me by this much. I'm just like, why me at this point? Like, I just endured the babysitter from ages of 5 through 10, 12, and then now this family member is coming for me. So at this point, I didn't care about life. I just felt dirty. I don't know, I kind of felt targeted as a child. I hated when people say I was pretty, because that's how it would start with the "you're so pretty." I love your eyes. You're so pretty. You're so pretty. So I hate hearing it. I thought life was over, but it just trickled down and made it worse going from there. So my daddy called me Muffin because he would bake. He would bake. He loved baking cookies and cakes. And my favorite is blueberry muffins. Anytime he would bake, anytime he would cook cakes or cupcakes, he'll be like, "Muffin, come here in the kitchen." So I would come in the kitchen, and back in the day, we had this big old pot or pan, and he'll whip it up, and he'll be like, taste, see if I got it. And I'll take my finger and lick it. He just called me Muffin, and it stuck. So after the whole family member thing, of course, that's something else that I had to process. My dad came back to the country to pick us up and took us back home, and I began high school. In high school, my dad kind of chose me out of the children to excel. I was in JROTC. I ran track. I was like I said, very gifted. I was on the newspaper article team, so I was the editor-in-chief. I ran the newspaper. I never was one of those children that was fast. I went to school. I went to ROTC. I did track. I came home. I got introduced to a boyfriend at the age of 16. I was very happy because this person was on a football team. After everything I've been through, I could not imagine why he would be attracted to me. He just kept saying I was very pretty. Again, I hate that word, but I was like, okay, so maybe he sees something in me. So one day I was going to babysit a baby, and this person asked me to come to their house. Of course, my intuition, spirit told me don't go, but I ignored my intuition and I went because I felt like I would be safe because this person was my boyfriend. Well, I go to the house. He pushes me like I'm walking up the stairs. He's nudging me behind me to walk faster, and I'm trapped. And there's 3 people there, and they raped me. All 3. It lasted for an hour. They went back to back to back. One of them punched me in my face. One of them picked up a baseball bat, hit me in my right leg. Once they hit me in my leg, it was over with. I laid there, and I remember them turning on Guns N' Roses. They turned the music up really loud. I was screaming. I happened to crawl to the window, and I seen my mom watering the grass. I tried to knock on the window. They grabbed me, held me down. After about that hour of abuse, they threw me outside in the backyard. They had a dog back there, and the dog was licking my wounds. I crawled to a friend's house, and she helped me up. She put me in the shower. I stayed the night, and the next day we got on the school bus, and I sat behind the bus driver. She sat with me. They got on the bus. They thumped me in my head, all of them. After they got on the bus, she said, "You have to tell." I said, "No." And as they got on the bus, I looked at them and I said, "Y'all are all gonna die. You're not gonna get away with this." Because I felt it. I got to the school not knowing that my friend had already called and told the principal, and the principal called my dad. And the look on my dad's face, I don't know. The look on his face was it was more disappointed. It was hurt. He was just trying to figure out what, when, what. And I remember him saying, "Where are they?" He said, "Muffin, come here." And then he gave me a hug and he said, "It's going to be okay." And my dad went looking for all of them in the school. It took 5, 6 officers back then to hold him back because he had on his work uniform and stuff. I ain't never seen my dad that mad before. So I had to go through a lie detector test. I had to learn how to walk again. They told me I wouldn't have children because they messed me up so bad. And that's when my dad told me we are moving. He gave up his career in that city and we moved to another city so I could have a new start. And when we moved to have a new start, you would think it would get better. Got worse. Found out I was pregnant with my oldest son. I was 5 months pregnant when I found out, and my daddy told me, don't worry about it. Go to the military. He named my son, and I went to the military, and when I came back, found out my dad had stage 4 colon cancer, and he passed away on the phone with me. The 2 boys that did this to me, they are now deceased, and the other one did reach out to me on social media, and he apologized, and I told him I forgive him, and I'm really glad that he did do that, because I was waiting for that apology from him, because he was actually the boyfriend. After experiencing all the trauma, it led to me being a serial monogamist, and I didn't even know really what that is. My first husband meant everything to me. We were together for 15 years, married 10. He was there when my father died. I feel like we were young. I can say that. That did not last because we were young, and I kind of lost a sense of direction when I lost my dad. So it was just very difficult for me to process a marriage so young. So I can honestly say that's why that ended. Going into my second marriage, that's the one that killed me. This husband, I experienced a lot of firsts with. I experienced my first feeling in love, my first exciting feeling since the death of my father. This person knew of the trauma, and we had a lot of things in common. And that marriage ended because he cheated on me with a mutual friend and actually took this person to our places, our favorite restaurants, our hotels, everything that we did in a marriage. He took those special things away from me. That's when the evil part of me came out. That's when I decided in life I can't trust nobody. It hurt me to the point I almost committed suicide. I tried to kill myself. I took 2 bottles of pills, and one of my friends came to my house and found me almost on my deathbed and pumped my stomach for me. I lost myself in that second marriage. At that point, I didn't even know who I was. The third marriage came because I was lonely. The third marriage was a business deal to me. I didn't care. It was just something to do, just to say I was still married, because in my mind, I'm still with my second husband. That was just what I was thinking. After dealing with my abusive third husband, because he was very verbally abusive to me, to the point to where police was called multiple times and my mother had to come out multiple times, I ended that marriage because I knew I didn't want to be with him. I met my fourth husband, who had characteristics of my father, and he helped me to get past my second husband. I was on a healing journey. My fourth husband introduced me to tarot cards. He told me this is a gift, and I said, no, it's not. He said, yes, it is. That's where the name Ivy comes from. He named me that. So after we demised and I started going into my tarot business, I met my fifth husband. And that's when I really, in my mind, I said, I'm going to try. I said, I don't want to keep doing this. I really want my husband. And for 2.5, 3 years, we were married. Everything was good. And he went to Las Vegas to go to work, and he never came back home. It was the week of his birthday. I called him and I asked, what's going on? I noticed that we've been having issues, but it's not nothing that we can't get past. And he said he didn't want to be married no more. This was in 2019, 2020. So he abandoned me. And the death that I felt when my dad died is what I felt. So again, I said, okay, here we go. I sold my house. I moved again across city, and it just put me back into a swirl of trying to fill that void. So I remarried again to fill him, and it was just like, that's when I got into my business, Mystic Moon, so I can be a catalyst for others to help, because I knew it was a problem. And then, to see people making fun of it on social media, but not knowing the things I've been through. So I wanted to create my business so I can help people not go through what I went through, to prevent it, because I know it's an issue. And that's where I am now. I have really been working on myself for the last 2 years, and I really came a long way. Just to be discussing it, I know it sounds weird to people, but The truth is my truth, you know, being the age I am, I have not discussed this really with nobody. So I felt like it was time to just be honest with myself and just speak out on the problem so I can fix it. Because that's not who I am as a woman and as a mother. So that is why the multiple marriages happen, because of the death of my father, that void, the absence. And then having people that come into your life that promise that they're going to be there for you and then they leave. The abandonment, the rejection. So currently, the abuse, it did not define me. The marriages did not define me. Now, I am a very successful entrepreneur. My business is thriving. I have so many beautiful fans and clients all around the world. Sometimes I ask God, maybe I was chosen. I go back and I think about it as a child, like, wow. I feel like everything I went through, it was my journey. And I thank God for it. I don't regret it. I really don't. If I had to redo my life, I would. I would go down the same path just so I can be who I am. I'm not going to change who I am. I'm just going to be a better version of myself. And I thank Unfiltered Stories for this platform, for allowing us to give our stories to help others. I always say, be who you are, be who God made you. And everything else will just fall into place.